Thank you for joining me on another edition of Resource PNG. Nautilus Minerals had a lot of media attention in 2012. That was due to their wanting to develop the first deep-sea mining project called Solwara 1 in the Bismarck Sea off the coast of New Ireland. There has been much media debate over this project. Resource PNG got to speak with Nautilus Minerals interim president and CEO Mike Johnson. Here is Ms. Anya Geno with that interview.
Mike, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Now, the company had announced a halt to construction in November.
Yep.
How far along was Nautilus in the construction phase?
Overall, at that point we were about 53% construction completed, but in certain elements of the project we were much further advanced. So with regards to the mining equipment, the mining tools, they were in excess of 70% complete. So getting towards the stage of assembling the actual components. So if you can imagine, with our project, it's being constructed in factories all over the world, and then all those components get brought together and assembled in a final factory, very large factory.
Right.
And at that point, then they undergo factory testing, and then we accept the equipment after it's been tested. So 70%, in excess of 70%, complete for the actual mining tools. 53% for the entire project.
So more than halfway.
Yeah.
How did that announcement affect your workers?
Yeah, well, obviously, as we said in the press release, I think we had to let about 60 people go. So obviously that was very hard for them, very hard for me because I knew almost all of those people personally. And it wasn't just one office. A lot of our staff in Brisbane, a large component of that 60 people were released in Brisbane, but also in our Port Moresby office. We had to also retrench the people in our Kavieng office. We've still got the office, but and it also affected our Tongan office as well because we weren't moving forward as fast. So, and then in other areas of the company where we supervise the people doing the construction for us, and some of those offices as well, people were let go. So in places like Perth, Houston, Newcastle in the UK, they were either let go or reduced hours. So yeah, so very significant. Yeah, very stressful day. In fact, not something you want to do regularly. And I tried not to do it, but I was left with no choice.
Right. So what status is the project at right now?
Well, as I said, overall it's 53% complete. The reason that we stopped the build is because as a small mining company we couldn't afford to sole carry the total cost of the project as we had up to that point. So we still have $90 million in the bank, but as you could imagine, as you get towards the end of the construction of some of this equipment, the expenditures ramp up very, very quickly as milestones are reached. So it was better for us to stop spending the money, stop building the equipment, and then we could talk sensibly about the outcome.
Yes. So. And what's been the effect on the stock market?
Well, when we announced the termination of the contract, our stock dropped significantly. Went down to about 40 cents. I mean, previously our share price has been up to at least, I think, almost $7. So significant impact on the price of our shares, and obviously our shareholders were, as I am, are very concerned at the drop in value. Yeah, so enormous value destruction.
So I know you have released an official statement, but what are your personal feelings on this?
Oh, my personal feelings are that I think it's a very, very good project, and it deserves to be built. I was very upset, as I said, on the day when I had to make the decision to let people go. That hurt a lot. There are a lot of very good people that lost their jobs. So not an outcome which anyone would have wanted, any sensible person would have wanted, I think. Yeah.
That was Nautilus Minerals interim president and CEO, Mike Johnson, speaking to us about how the announcement of a halt to their project has affected their business. Do stay tuned for more. Nautilus Minerals, towards the end of 2012, announced that they were putting construction on hold for their project, Solwara 1. Will they pursue this project? What would they want to see happen in the near future? In this part of the interview with Nautilus Minerals interim president and CEO Mike Johnson, he talks about just that.
Now, considering you are that far advanced in the project,
Yep.
what do you think the possibilities are of revitalising the project?
Oh, we intend to revitalise. As I said, I just stopped things so we weren't feeling like we were drowning. In resource projects, you need, when you've got partners, you need to work together to develop them and deliver them. So the reason for me stopping was just so that we could get sensible discussion. The chances of it going forward are very, very high. As I say, it's a very, very good project. We have a lot of very strong supporters. I spoke to most of the almost all of our large investors within a week of us announcing the termination. Almost all of them expressed strong support for the project. There's a lot of belief that, with 70% of the planet covered by water, we have to think seriously about where we're going to get all the metal from in this society that we're trying to develop. And all these notions of low carbon footprint and green economy, what people aren't building into the equation is the fact that these things consume higher quantities of copper and nickel than the current economy.
Yes.
So it's all very well to want these things, but you have to recognise that it's going to drive investment decisions to another area that perhaps you're not that comfortable with. And I believe that mining from the seafloor can provide a viable and economic source of a lot of these minerals. There are very large resources on the seafloor that are already known. So it is only a matter of time. And as I say to people, when you actually look at the technology is all there now, and we're, as I said, 70% complete on the mining tools, 53% complete on the total project. So we're not far away from actually seeing it happen. And then people will be able to see this is actually a very, very significant and serious way of tackling the world's demand for resources.
Yes. So Mike, where is the way forward at the moment?
Well, the way forward is through discussion and dialogue, rather than, in my personal view, rather than through lawyers' letters. This issue could be solved very, very easily and very quickly if both parties want to solve the commercial issues.
Yes.
And I've extended what I believe are actually very favourable terms for the government to ensure that the government and the people of Papua New Guinea do get recognition for being the first in the world to do this as a resource project. So, and I think that that recognition is reflected in what I've spoken with the government about. So I think like just about any disagreement, doesn't matter if it's in a marriage or in a commercial agreement like this. The easiest way forward is through good meaningful dialogue and discussion.
Yes.
And that's all we require.
Now, you may not be aware, but this show, Resource PNG, is actually a forum for a lot of these issues. Now, this show alone has received 600 emails from your supporters in support of your project.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to your supporters?
Well, firstly, I'd say that it doesn't surprise me that you had such a high level of support, because it is a very, very good project. It has been designed to have probably one of the smallest environmental impacts of any project, regardless of some of the rhetoric that's out there. People who've spent time and have reviewed the project will tell you it does have a very small footprint. And what I would say to our supporters is that this is a very, very good project, and it's the first of many seafloor resource projects which will be developed over time. So what I would say to them is, keep your support for us. Actually let your ministers and and public servants be aware that you actually support the project. One of the things that we seem to find in our democracies is that the silent majority's voice doesn't seem to get reflected in the media quite as much as some of those who make a lot of noise. So, this is a very good project, and I'm committed to Papua New Guinea. I mean, I've lived and worked in Papua New Guinea since 1995, and I still find it one of the most fascinating countries I've ever been to in my life, and it has enormous potential. I think that was seen today in some of the talks earlier in the conference. Papua New Guinea, if you strip away the perceived issues of bureaucracy and licensing and that, in terms of its potential, in most of the surveys that are done, Papua New Guinea rates in the top 3 resource countries in the world. So the challenge for us in Papua New Guinea, is to unlock that potential and get those benefits to the people of Papua New Guinea. And I believe that can be done. And this project can actually help lead the way to what can be a very, very promising future for Papua New Guinea.
Yes. So the support from the people, there is a large group of support for your project. Well, what kind of support would you like from the government?
Well, we would just like to quickly close the discussions, bring them to a sensible conclusion, and then let's get together and continue the build of the equipment, and let PNG be a leader in the world, in the resource sector. I mean, it's just waiting to happen for Papua New Guinea.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
That was Mike Johnson, the Interim President and CEO of Nautilus Minerals, operators and owners of the Solwara 1 project.
Do join us after this short break for more updates from Nautilus Minerals about their project. The annual PNG Mining and Petroleum Investment Conference is a place where companies in the extractive industry give an update of their projects in PNG. One such company is Nautilus Minerals. They give an update on how their project came about and what kind of data they have been getting from their studies.
So the talk today, I'll just quickly go through who Nautilus is, what deep sea minerals, what the opportunities are there for Papua New Guinea, a quick update on our project status, and then our work in Papua New Guinea, and then some thoughts on moving forward. So Nautilus was formed in 1997 when it received the first exploration licence for seafloor massive sulphides in Papua New Guinea. So our focus in Papua New Guinea has been high-grade copper, gold and zinc deposits. And we have significant mining companies as investors, including Metal Invest, Anglo America, MB Holdings from the Sultanate of Oman, and Teck Resources. So we believe in Nautilus that the opportunity for Papua New Guinea lies in diversifying outside of its land-based resources. As everybody in this room is aware, the world's demand for minerals continues to rise, and our land resources are becoming more and more stretched, and the grades of these resources are becoming lower and lower. So, and then every human activity that we do has some sort of impact on the environment. And if you look at the two slides there, the one on the left is obviously Porgera towards the end of stage 3 by the look of it. And then on the right is what a seafloor production system will look like on the sea, and what you'll see. And there are a number of advantages to mining offshore. First and foremost is the grade of mineral systems on the seafloor tends to be very, very high compared to what we're mining on land. So our Solwara 1 project has an average grade, indicated grade of 7.2% copper. And if you think about the average grade of copper being mined on land last year was about 0.6% copper. So that's an order of magnitude higher. And the other exciting things about seafloor mining is that there's no overburden, or very little overburden, like you have out on land, and we end up with a very small physical footprint because of the high grade of the deposits. And the final thing that does it for me with mining on the seafloor is that we don't have to remove landowners from the site. We're generally well away from landowners and public, and that's a major advantage, particularly in a society like Papua New Guinea, where land is very important. So if we go to the project status, the Sawara 1 project, for those who aren't aware, is located in New Ireland province. It's about 30 kilometres from the nearest land. The project has a very small extraction area. So you're looking at an area of 0.1 of a square kilometre. We have, as was alluded to by Peter in the introduction, we have the world's first NI 43-101 compliant resource for a seafloor deposit, and the deposit occurs at a depth of 1,600 metres from the sea surface. As most people are aware, there's the status of the State Equity Option Agreement between Nautilus and the State of PNG is undergoing discussions at the moment. So what I've done is taken the step to stop our company building the equipment while we continue those discussions. Those discussions obviously will increase the time it takes to build the project and the cost of the project. But in the meantime, we've been reviewing all aspects of our company and looking at areas where we think we can improve, as most companies do these days. Just to introduce you to seafloor production. So what happens, that a basic seafloor production system consists of 3 components. You've got the production support vessel up on the surface, sitting above the deposit on the sea. You have the riser and lifter system, which is where we transport the material from the seafloor up into the vessel. And then we have the production tools down on the bottom, which are the workhorses that produce the ore and get it over to the riser system. Now, we've been building the project over the last sort of 12 months or so. As of September this year, the project was 53% complete. We've had factory acceptance testing completed on a number of components. Winches and A-frames, surface pumps are either completed or well advanced, and we've completed initial cutting trials. Some of those pictures you see highlight some of the build that's been completed on the project. This one's just a picture of one of the chassis. These are quite significant machines when you see them. They're being constructed all over the world at the moment. So we'll just go to some of our work in PNG. When we started this project, we kicked off back in 2007 with stakeholder engagement sessions in Port Moresby, where we met with various government departments as well as NGOs, and we invited a number of NGOs, a number of who declined to attend those initial meetings, it should be said. And then from those meetings, our team, led by Dr. Samantha Smith, were able to develop comprehensive programs for mapping out how to do environmental permitting and the mine lease permitting for a seafloor production system. So, the other thing we do with our systems is apply the precautionary principle. So the system itself has been designed to be fully enclosed. There are no hazarded chemicals. There are no tailings discharged to the sea. There are no blasting. We use biodegradable fluids in all of our equipment. There's no extraction impact shallower than 1,300 metres. So all of the activity that occurs below 1,300 metres. So what you get with the deep ocean is that the water is layered. And so we've done an extensive program of environmental studies, including full water column monitoring for 12 months, and built that into our EIS, which was submitted to the government back in 2008. We also allow the people who do research on the project, they have freedom to publish, and we have a program of independent monitors and reviewers. And just on our last exploration program, we had mammal observers from the New Ireland Fisheries School present on the vessel monitoring our work. So we've undertaken a considerable amount of consultation in Papua New Guinea since 2007, as you can see from this diagram. A lot of it focused on West New Ireland province, but also East New Britain, but also areas in Port Moresby, Madang, Wewak, Lae, so a significant amount of consultation.
That was the interim president and CEO of Nautilus Minerals, Mike Johnson. More of that presentation when we return. Despite being termed a controversial project, Nautilus Minerals' Solwara 1 project has brought about some interesting information about the seabed off the coast of New Ireland. It has also given Papua New Guineans a career path that makes them competitive on a global scale. Mr. Mike Johnson.
The other thing that I don't think too many people are aware of with seafloor mining, when we do our exploration, we collect an enormous amount of data which we give to the MRA and the department, and that data we also provide to the National Maritime Safety Authority, which they use to update the maritime charts for the Bismarck Sea, and we've encountered errors of up to 200 or 300 metres in the elevation of, or expected elevation of the seafloor. So there's quite significant improvement being made to the maritime charts in Papua New Guinea, and you have to remember that the large areas of the Bismarck Sea, the only data that's available is actually gravity data from satellites. So there's a significant amount of detail that has to go into improving those charts, which we do. The other thing we have also started over the last 4 years has been a university bursary opportunity with Duke University in the United States. They're one of the top universities in the world for environmental deep ecology. The current student is Freddie, and he's actually from New Ireland, and he's in New Zealand at the moment, giving a paper on the research he's just completed in the United States. So it's our intention to try and bring the likes of Freddie and Martha back into Papua New Guinea to impart their knowledge, what they've learnt about deep ecology, because these people are now probably some of the world experts in seafloor massive sulphide systems. The other thing that we've also done over the last few years is community partnerships. So the Port Moresby mission, we've been a contributor to that, helping the guys and there. But also, I don't think many people are aware that our chairman, Jeff, actually has been a long-term supporter of the Port Moresby City Mission. We've also helped with the Matamai Community Centre in the building of that for the people of Matamai in New Ireland. We also have a commitment to local hire, and currently about 10% of our workforce still was PNG nationals, and our ultimate goal is for 70% of our operation workforce to be PNG nationals. I'd like to think that can be 100. There's a lot of people, very competent Papua New Guinea engineers and geologists who I know and have taught over the years who are now working in Africa and Australia, and they're only too keen to come back, particularly on a high-tech system, mining system like this. So moving forward, for Nautilus, we're in the process of, in 2013, setting up our Community Development Fund, which is something we gave a commitment to the government on back when we were permitting the project. We're in the process of identifying an independent board for that, to manage that fund, and they'll work with the two relevant provincial governments, the New Ireland provincial government obviously, but also East New Britain, to set aside priority areas for the investment from the project, and we're starting that in 2013. The other thing that's on the go for us is, as a company, we believe seafloor production offers many social and environmental advantages over land-based mining, and when you consider that 70% of the planet is actually covered by the ocean, eventually society is going to have to start to take stress off land. We're going to have to start managing seafloor resources a lot better than what we've done in the past and start to take notice of them. So there's a real opportunity there not only for Nautilus but also for the government of Papua New Guinea, who's partnering with us on this project. We always apply the precautionary principle. We use independent studies, we have multi-stakeholders approach, we always workshop the issues and problems that we see going forward and try and get the best solutions. And then the other key element that we have to do over the next few weeks is finalise discussions with the PNG government on the state equity option agreement, get that bedded down, and then I can restart the construction of the project. So that just gives you a brief outline of where we are with Solwara 1, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
That was Nautilus Minerals Interim President and CEO Mike Johnson with an update of their project Solwara 1. After the break, we have a report on the Oil Search Foundation. Oil Search has been around for decades. Oil Search has done a lot for the people on their project impact area. They recently launched the Oil Search Foundation to extend the same kind of help to other parts of Papua New Guinea. In March 2012, Oil Search Limited launched the Oil Search Health Foundation. This was the company's way of giving back to the people. The government supported the idea as this would mean more support for health services. The Oil Search Health Foundation's vision is to identify health issues in PNG and seek opportunities to strengthen and support systems and processes that will result in improved health outcomes for the people of Papua New Guinea. The PNG Prime Minister Peter O'Neill is very much in support of the Foundation's work.
Our government understands the importance of the treatment, as well as prevention, and for the last 2 years, we have committed funds to funding the total cost of drugs that are required. The response to HIV is everybody's business. Our government welcomes the support from our development partners, in particular the Global Fund, OSAID, other donor agencies, church groups, and of course the Oil Search Health Foundation.
Oil Search's Managing Director Peter Botten believes this is a great investment in the country.
It's not acceptable anymore to have people die in your operating areas for the want of simple medical treatments. In the developing world today, it's just not acceptable to say it's just the government's responsibility to provide this care. This is a huge moral and social responsibility to leverage the strengths of the private sector to work with governments and development partners to help address these major health and social challenges. And I'm sure our shareholders agree.
The operation covers a number of public health concerns, including antenatal care, TB, and malaria prevention.
This is the world that we live in, with real people, such as Nancy, Esther, and Ramsey, involved real frontline workers who are out there today in their uniforms, such as Janet, Jerry, Flora, and the rest who are on the front line.
They have the Straight Passin store that operates as a rural pharmacy as well.
In 2007, we initiated an innovative program to improve access to diagnosis and treatment with a village-based treatment access program known as Marasin Storekeeper. This franchise social business model involves the training of local people to test and supply malaria treatment and other health products in areas that cannot be serviced by the regular health service. It's essentially a mini pharmacy business run under strict criteria standards, and most of these are run by women. The foundation has a staff of over 80 people, a budget of 24 million Aussie dollars in its first year of operation, and is initially working in 9 provinces, representing a major long-term commitment by Oil Search to make a positive difference to the society. The foundation is a non-profit registered charity established to contribute to the long-term health and well-being of the people of PNG.
The foundation works with other organizations in what is called a public-private partnership. The stakeholders in this arrangement include healthcare providers, donor agencies, and the National Department of Health. The Oil Search Health Foundation is driven to ensure public health is given the attention it deserves.
We currently have about 80 people working with the foundation. Some of those are directly from the Oil Search medical service that transferred across to the foundation, and some are contracted for specific projects. So we've got a range of doctors, nurses, HEOs, laboratory people working on a variety of health programs. We're also working with malaria, also with funding from the Global Fund and in partnership with the National Department of Health. And the National Department of Health is delivering those programs and also just assisting in the management of those programs. We're also working in maternal health. We've recently established a reproductive health training unit, again in partnership with the National Department of Health and with some funding assistance from AusAid. And that program aims to improve the delivery of maternal health services through education of health workers and refresher training for health workers across the country. So we're really excited about that program.
The Oil Search Health Foundation team is made up of very dedicated people like Miss Anna Golang, a HIV nurse that deals with people living with HIV/AIDS on a daily basis.
My name is Anna Golang, but people call me Auntie Anna because my nature of work is in the area of HIV and AIDS, and I am a program officer with Oil Search, representing the public health with Oil Search. We provide training to the local nurses, and training meaning that we train them in all basic HIV information, and that leading to nurses being selected in those health facilities to come to be trained under the health department to prescribe HIV medicine. And my role is to provide supervise the staff and continuously mentor them on this HIV medicine, care and counseling and treatment, and education, especially in awareness to the community.
HIV/AIDS has had a lot of awareness because of all the countries in the Asia-Pacific region. PNG is facing the largest HIV epidemic. That is why the Oil Search Health Foundation is set on giving more emphasis on this issue.
I believe this model represents one part of us being able to deliver help to more people in a more efficient way. I also believe the private sector, especially those working in the developing world, can do more.
The government also supports this concept.
According to the 2012 Global AIDS Progress Report to the UN AIDS Committee, there are estimated 34,000 people living with HIV/AIDS in Papua New Guinea. We have the highest prevalence of HIV in the Pacific region, and whilst we as a country are making headway in tackling that disease, there is still more for us to do. Papua New Guinea's effort to combat HIV is a story in itself, which to date has not been very often told. Through the Access to Life exhibition, 12 Papua New Guineans are bringing their message about this disease in PNG to the rest of the world.
There was a report in the Oil Search Foundation. When we come back, we shall have more. The Oil Search Foundation has spread their work to 9 provinces already. The organization has been working with donor agencies like AusAid, the Asian Development Bank or ADB, and the Global Fund, as well as the National Department of Health to ensure that people outside of their project impact area gets the same kind of care. The Oil Search Health Foundation has gained much support for their work. They have a team of very talented and enthusiastic people to provide healthcare services to the community.
We are committed to the people of PNG. This year, the company is going to spend approximately 4 billion kina in the country through various activities.
In 2012, the foundation was given the title of PNG's principal recipient for the Global Fund Round 10 HIV program. The Global Fund is a public-private partnership and an international financing institution that focuses on preventing and treating HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria.
Since 2003, the Global Fund has distributed $22 billion to 700 recipients in 150 countries. We are one of only 3 private sector companies globally to be awarded a principal recipient status.
As part of the arrangement with the Oil Search Health Foundation, over the next 5 years, the foundation will be overseeing the management of a grant worth about 98 million kina from the Global Fund. The grant will be used for upscaling HIV testing, treatment, and support. In December 2012, Global Fund and an international agency called Magnum Photos teamed up with the foundation to participate in an Oil Search-sponsored exhibition at the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney, Australia, that showcased over 250 photographs taken by some of the world's best photographers. The collection was called Access to Life.
I commend those 12 for their courage in speaking about this disease. Thank you again to Camilio, Norman, Elizabeth, Okai, Esther, Leonard, Nick, Julie, Nancy, Selena, Juliet, and Miriam. Their very powerful photos and simple words bring home the reality of the impact of the disease. The Access to Life exhibition provides us with the glimpse into the lives of Papua New Guineans living with HIV/AIDS in the country. These people who share their personal stories have shown great strength and personal courage. Amidst the horrible toll of this disease on communities and villages throughout our country, there is hope for those affected by HIV from the treatment and the support they now receive. Again, it is my pleasure to now officially launch the Access to Life PNG book. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The book goes in line with the exhibition Access to Life. The exhibition tells the story of people living with HIV/AIDS. The collection gives a very real insight into the lives of these people, how they deal with everyday life, their interaction with healthcare workers, their families, and their communities.
As a national, I feel that there are places that the system has not reached. So I say the service is touching the untouched, and I am privileged to work for a company that has that desk, and I am employed to do that.
Through the Global Fund for AIDS, TB and malaria, they provided funding to the Department of Health and Oil Search to extend this program across many parts of the country. So that's really helping in delivering the services for antiretroviral treatment and testing. We all have our different skill sets that we can bring to bear on many of the health issues in Papua New Guinea, and the public-private partnership we see as one model for helping to address many of the health issues in Papua New Guinea.
For me, this exhibition makes the fight against HIV very personal. It brings home that it's about people, wives, husbands, sons, daughters, friends, colleagues, people you know, sometimes love and respect, all fighting a terrible disease and commonly social prejudice and ignorance. The superb photos in this exhibition reflect courageous people across the social spectrum in many countries around the world. For Nancy, Juliet, Ramsey, Delma, Esther in Papua New Guinea, and many more pictured in this exhibition, they reflect hope and a future, underwritten by their own strength, supported by organisations such as Global Fund and its partners.
The exhibition gives a very human face to the issue of HIV/AIDS. The pictures from Papua New Guinea were taken by a highly acclaimed British photographer called Chris Steele Perkins.
Well, Papua New Guineans have to learn that these are all human beings. They are someone's son, father, daughter, sister, and that we need to learn to embrace them. So I think our people need to realize that this kind of stigma that this is a disease that one cannot survive, you can see that when they're receiving proper treatment, people are getting their strength back and surviving in our community. So we need to encourage our rest of the community and citizens to embrace that this is not a death sentence.
The exhibition has been around the world in cities like Washington, Rome, Madrid, Oslo, Oakland, New York, Tokyo, and Seoul. The Oil Search Health Foundation would like to continue working with the government of PNG and other organizations as well as the community at large to continue to support education, training, prevention, and treatment of diseases like malaria, HIV/AIDS, TB, and maternal and child health and lifestyle diseases. Oil Search aims to improve the lives of ordinary Papua New Guineans. That's it for another program of Resource PNG. You're welcome to view this presentation again on our Resource PNG page at www.mtv.com.pg, and do email us if you have any suggestions or queries. Until the same time next week, have a pleasant week.